Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin Kinell. I'm the CTO of Work Truck Solutions, and we're getting close to the end of the session here today. I know we've got the future of AI and reciprocity coming up, or sorry, of reciprocity coming up. And our panel, though, is the AI focus. So we are talking both sides of AI today. And I'll start off with just who I am. I'm Kevin Kinell, as I said, CTO of Work Truck Solutions. I've been with the company since the early days. When Catherine founded the company, I joined on in the early stages to try and build out the development team. And it's been quite an amazing run over the years. And on our product team today, which I still oversee, and the engineering and product side, we are doing a lot of experimentation with AI. So it's exciting to be able to speak to a little bit of those efforts that we've got going on at our company and share that with the audience and our fellow panelists. So I'll go around the room real quick and let you guys introduce yourself. I'm just going left to right on my screen. So Eric, go ahead.
Cool. My name is Eric Foster. I am founder of BZDev Consultants. We do tech marketing and business development for our partners. My background is in tech. So for the prior 7 years, I was with a fintech. I've probably worked with some of you in a fintech capacity at some point. And prior to that, I was doing cloud services for business. And AI is definitely core to what we're doing at BZDev today.
Cool. Thanks, Eric. Good to have you on here. And I think maybe our second or third panel together. Same with you, Jameel. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So, my name is Jameel Ghata. I lead strategy at PAVE. At PAVE, we're an automated vehicle inspection company, AI enabled, that basically makes it easy for anyone, anytime, anywhere to become a skilled vehicle inspector. Really, all that you need is a smartphone, and then our clients walk around the vehicle taking guided photos, and then we analyze those photos using computer vision and AI to produce a graded condition report that essentially highlights all the vehicle damage and produces estimates for repair.
So AI is pretty front and center in your application there.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll get to talk about that a little bit more later. Edie,
Yes.
welcome to our panel, and why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Edie Hirtenstein, and I am the founder and VP of Business Development for VINData. VINData Products. We are a vehicle data company. We do, most people think of us as a vehicle history report company, but we're so much more than that. We not only cover passenger car, light truck, but we also cover commercial vehicles, so class 4 through 8. We do have data for trailers, as well as even things like motorcycle and power sports, trailed RVs and motorized RVs, and even pre-1981 classics. So we have data elements, things like title information, recall information, lien and theft, et cetera, et cetera. We are looking at AI as for ways that we can make it easier for our customers to better understand the information that they're seeing, as well as taking in data that is generated through AI. So AI is also front and center in what we are working at here at VINData.
Well, good to hear we're all touching AI pretty deeply, and probably not a surprise. If you talk to especially smaller size startups, that are getting founded or a few years in, like that AI is going to have an influence right from the start of those companies, and or the companies that have been around for a while are trying to kind of figure out where it incorporates and how to best leverage it. So to tie in our theme, so the reciprocity is our theme for CVBS this fall session. I was thinking about what does that mean in the AI world, and I think the both sides of AI is kind of fitting there, right? Like, how is AI influencing us as companies or us as individuals? And then the other side is how is it benefiting users of our applications or users of our services, or the data, side of things, and how does it tie back into making us better or changing how we do things at work? So kind of on that note, like I wanted to see like what impact do you guys see that's kind of mutually benefiting? Is there something at your individual organizations or that you're seeing has that kind of two-way aspect to AI? And I'll go in reverse order. So Edie, anything that sparks your mind on that?
Well, I mean, certainly we are always interested in working with companies that are using, that are creating things like condition reports and things basically that like Jameel's company, PAVE, is doing, so that we can take that information in and be able to synthesize it and create a better quality information stream for our customers. We have the ability to take in data that is specific to a customer and just use it for them and not create it for all of the rest of the customer bases that we have, so that we can bifurcate, if you will, data streams to create custom products for our customers, and that is something that we do every day.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Jameel, it sounds like you're helping feed like some of the stuff that Edie would be consuming there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when I think about reciprocity and sort of mutually beneficial outcomes related to AI, I really think about, to your point, that AI is really powering more efficient and effective data capture. So it's bringing processes that were perhaps offline, online, and organizing the data in a way that it can, be operationally beneficial to the company that's implementing the AI. So that's where, they get the core benefits in a more tightly organized operation. But then when you think about the value to the customer, so, whether it's using AI to assist a vehicle sales process, or, retargeting or targeting customers, or valuing vehicles, the end result is that the improvements essentially can not only affect the core operations of the business that's implementing the AI, but also can be assistive in better serving their customers, whether that's dealers, fleet owners, or other stakeholders up and down the automotive value chain.
And clearly we're all, focused on delivering a good product to our customers at the end of the day. And Eric, I know you can relate to that part as well. And, have you seen AI's influence on being beneficial to both, like how your company might be efficiently improving, or, either in the past or now, and how it benefits customers?
Yeah,
In that reciprocity
absolutely.
theme.
Yeah. So, whether it's bridging that knowledge gap for employees, I think that's one of the big challenges lots of companies face is, do my employees know enough about our products and about our services to be able to successfully have a consultative discussion with our customers? I see custom GPTs being very valuable in helping to make sure that we're educating our staff about our services and products and keeping them abreast, but also then taking it one step further and making those tools then available to the customer themselves. You can start to provide very in-depth conversations with your customers, specifically helping them make decisions about whether it's better to pay cash for this purchase or whether I should be financing it. Where's the break-even point between one and the other? What are the impacts that potentially some form of a tax incentive could have on making that decision? And I think the more companies are embracing even GPTs to help with that discussion, the more those conversations are going to become valuable to that customer. And I think by nature, if you feel value from your provider, you're going to reciprocate with more business. So I really see that as kind of being core to reciprocity in the stuff we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned, workers in there, people at our respective companies, or ourselves included. And, we talked a little bit about the other day when we were meeting up about how AI is making us better. And that's, I was thinking about just the different ways that Work Truck Solutions is using AI. It's quite a big gamut, from AI note takers and meetings to, refining text and content that we're using for SEO purposes, or just even like prepping for this conference, right? I threw in to Gemini some talk, ideas of what we were trying to do and a little bit about us, and like, hey, generate me some questions that I could ask a panel. So I was, it's and that, to me, that then makes me more efficient. I would have done the same research a different way, in prepping for a conference like this, of just like, what kind of, because I like idea generation, right? I like to get something that comes back and then sparks ideas for me to iterate off of that. And then the use of AI just made that process a lot more efficient. And Eric, I know you had talked a little bit about just like that benefit to the worker as well, and I'll just let everybody kind of just dialogue off of that.
Yeah, like I remember the early parts of my career, it was on-the-job training. I think we've all been through an on-the-job training, which essentially equates to the first 5 years, I'm going to be stumbling around in the dark and stubbing my toe. I don't think going forward, employees are going to find that. I think we are all going to have at our fingertips access to the information we need when we need it to both edify ourselves and ultimately have a more intelligible discussion with our customers. And I think that's one of the huge benefits in particular of custom GPTs for companies as they embrace them and begin to use them.
Yeah,
I think that I think that that's very true. That I mean, it may not eliminate that completely. I mean, we haven't yet been able to inject data or information directly into our brains, but I think that if it can shortcut that by 50% or 75%, so that you're not stumbling around in the dark or in the trough of uncertainty, as we used to call it, where everybody thinks that you know your job, but you don't. It could absolutely have a major impact. I think just always have to have that human element in there. And I think that as long as there's sort of a human overseeing, and is not just kind of letting the computers go wild, I think that that this can be an extremely beneficial tool across enterprises of all kinds, not just obviously in this one.
1,000%.
are you worried about the computers going wild, Edie?
No, not mine anyway.
Okay, good. All right, so CVBS is Commercial Vehicle Business Summit. So tying in our industry, and our company is front and center in commercial vehicles. Trying to think a little bit about how AI directly impacts us. And one of the things we had talked about as a group before was just like how sometimes commercial will follow retail, passenger and light truck, and is sometimes ahead, or is our industry also just, where do you feel our industry is at in adopting this compared to what you might see in other industries?
Just sort of having been in the automotive industry as well as in this industry and in the motorcycle and power sport industries, I get kind of pummeled with daily newsletters, really across all of those, vehicle types, if you will, or business silos. And, almost every other one in the automotive space is about how this company or that company is incorporating AI to do this or that, including things like what PAVE does, right? Which is the inspection. Just this morning, one came in regarding Carvana using their platform to perform automated inspections. So, once we start seeing that type of thing, I think in the fleet space and in the commercial vehicle space, I mean, it might be a few more months, a few more years before that starts happening. But I'm hoping that the following will be faster than it sometimes is in other. Yeah.
Jameel, I would imagine you're seeing that the adoption in your space specific niche is sort of somewhat reliant or taking advantage of AI. So maybe adoption's happening faster.
Yeah, I think anytime you're solving a problem for a customer and you can use AI to get them a product faster, cheaper, in a more flexible manner, and also provide them data in an organized manner, that's going to be a win across the board. I think back to your question about where is AI being implemented. I think if you focus on dealership operations, the back office, AI is really showing up there, and I think that's been true both within auto and beyond, to where it can fully automate certain tasks. I think when you look at the maturation of where AI is today, and you think about forward-facing or front office tasks, it works pretty good with and in conjunction with human operators. Whether it's folks doing very similar tasks all day, every day, it works really well to assist them, or even knowledge workers. It's starting to your point, help better organize your research and better assist you in your job. I think the last thing I'll say is in the fixed ops side of the business, when you have labor shortages or jobs that humans really don't want to do, we're starting to see really interesting companies pop up that are using AI and robotics to more efficiently and effectively service vehicles, whether that's changing tires or analyzing and estimating damage to a vehicle or anything in between. So really interesting progress that's being made in fixed ops in my mind.
Yeah, and
I also,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
Oh,
go ahead, Edie.
I was just going to say that, certainly in that sort of front office side as well, it's just trying to figure out when somebody is going to be ready to sell their vehicle. I mean, we just this week I had a fleet company reach out to me because that's one of the things that they're trying to better understand is when they should sell a unit. On the flip side of that is a dealer trying to figure out when their customers would should be ready to sell, and to make that a very precise invitation, if you will, for that person to come into the dealership instead of pelting them every month with an invite. But getting that exact right point, that's where AI can really shine as well.
That's kind of what I was going to play off of, is that, Work Truck Solutions, we're representing the vehicles that dealerships have on lot a lot. That's a core part of our application. And so dealers have always, from day one been trying to figure out, like, what should I stock? There are so many unique variations of commercial vehicles that you can't ever possibly stock, what every small business in your local geographic area might need. But to your point about, figuring out like all these data points about what are buyers actually searching for, what types of businesses are in my local area, and what, even taking it back to the OEM level of like what's available in the pools, and that the distributors and upfitters are actually could get me. There you can see that's a lot of variables to kind of process and hopefully feed back in a way that could be driven by AI to help a dealership be like, hey, there's a trend in your area, or something that we could help you give more insight on. So,
Right,
something
like,
that we've been looking at.
there's 15 landscaping companies in your area, and we can source those 15 vehicles that that those companies might need, right?
Exactly, and maybe historically you hadn't looked at stocking landscaping vehicles before.
Mhm.
So, yeah, some interesting things that you can do there. Eric, on the just in this industry topic, and how you see AI being adopted, or do you have other use cases you've seen, or?
Yeah, it's funny, when you first asked the question, I first framed it in the context of technology in general. And I think we'd all agree that this industry has not been the fastest to adopt technology when technology has been available. But I think AI will be different. I think AI will be different for a few reasons. One, because I believe it's more approachable than even teaching somebody how to use an Excel spreadsheet. I think the fact that you can now engage with AI with common speak, and I think once people acclimate to that, they will find, especially through solutions that Work Truck can provide, they will eventually see this as a tool that really helps make their jobs easier, not harder. And I think organizations that recognize that my staff plus AI equals everyone's a PhD will want that type of technology being deployed and used as often as possible by the staff. And I think Edie made a great point. It'll allow us to predict what you need, and all of a sudden that supply and demand issue simplifies itself dramatically. If literally what people need, you can anticipate and only order that instead of over ordering or under ordering in order to meet needs. And I think the companies that quickly embrace that and are willing and able to share that information either with their OEMs or with their customers and provide that kind of in-between service are really the ones who are going to far outpace their competition, quite simply just because the information and the value they can provide is that much greater.
Dead on.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to dive in a little bit deeper in your companies, and obviously we've touched a little bit on PAVE, Jameel, the influence there, but do you want to was that something that started early on, or did you change your adoption of AI? Or can you speak a little bit more to just PAVE specifically, and how you guys are using AI technologies and how it's benefited your customers?
Yeah, sure. For us, I mean, AI, specifically computer vision, has been foundational to how we deliver the product. So yeah, we started at the beginning, and we've continued to increase the level of automation within our platform offering. I think when you think about vehicle data as a theme, I know that Edie, helps companies organize and understand data as it relates to the vehicle. Really, an interesting thing that we started to do with our AI system is to use it to better generate, augment, and structure data that was previously incomplete. So when you think about commercial vehicles, we're able to fill gaps in what that vehicle has become or what that vehicle is by visually interrogating images and understanding upfits or perhaps badging that can indicate added options when the OEM data is incomplete, or additional packages and visual proof of what that vehicle is at a point in time, and then start to keep a history of it, specifically within fleets. So that's been something we've been focusing on recently that we think can certainly bring more clarity to the commercial vehicle space.
Can you describe a little bit of like who your customer base is that's now leveraging this?
Sure, yeah. So we work across a few different verticals within automotive. So dealers, both passenger vehicles and commercial vehicles, use our product for trade appraisals, for service, service to sales, and then also for just general service. And then on the fleet side, we have fleet management companies, fleet owner operators that use our company, rental car companies, all the way through to remarketing and used car merchandising to provide more transparent merchandising tools for shoppers and bidders and buyers to understand cosmetic condition of a vehicle, both in the retail side for minor blemishes they chose not to repair, but also on the wholesale side so they can better value the vehicle and what it would cost to get it frontline ready.
Yeah, you reminded me. I feel like we talked a little bit about those possibilities of the recognition of vehicles out there that are going to auction, or or that are in a large fleet, being able to recognize what they are. But yeah, I also would imagine, from a repair perspective, there's different, dealerships sometimes can or might not want to service the body part, and so being able to know that going in, or just having more information when it comes to the repair of the vehicle feels like, anyway, that was just one of the things that gravitated to my head. Any questions for Jameel, either Eric or Edie?
I just want to say this, that I worked for ADESA for a bunch of years while I was working for Car Global and through the company Instavin. So I remember going to the auction and watching the inspection people do their job, and you have various levels of inspection people, right? The people themselves. Some people are very practiced at it. Other people are maybe a little bit less practiced at it, or maybe, your back hurts a little bit today, so you're not going to bend over as far as you need to in order to see that, blemish or that problem that is underneath the vehicle. So companies like PAVE, to be able to create a process that makes a normalization of that data is extremely valuable across, whether it's at auction or whether it's at a dealership or at a fleet company or whatever, to make that information not only so that you can trust it more, right? Because that's what, at the end of the day, the more that these vehicles are being bought and sold across the automotive world, right? Whether it's passenger car, light truck, et cetera, there are more and more of these vehicles are being sold sight unseen, right? Where you're buying something that is 700 miles away, and you need to be able to trust the information that you're getting. So that's why I see AI as being just a huge benefit when it comes to inspections, okay, and condition of vehicles overall.
Jameel, I'll ask our team separately if they can cut out that video snippet of Edie if you need a testimonial for PAVE, because
No, that's great. I mean, Yeah, no, that was great insight, Edie. I think the only thing I'll add there is, I mean, I think when we look to the future, and to some degree it's here now, a lot of these vehicles are connected. And then when you start to look at different powertrains, specifically electric vehicles, you know, there's just so much information that you can get through OBD2 systems or through over-the-air telemetry to understand the mechanical condition of vehicles. And really the cosmetic condition is the one remaining gap in order to get a complete understanding of the vehicle, and then whether you're using that to service it or value it or in fleet or defleet. So we see a future where you know, a lot of this can be even more enhanced from a transparency perspective, without necessarily needing to stand up a huge team of inspectors to support that process.
And just making them more efficient, whether you have them or not.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll just add that so many decisions in the past have been made on instinct and experience. And how often is instinct and experience completely wrong, right? What a company like Jameel offers is actual knowledge and actual information and factual data points that you can then make informed decisions on. And I think the more organizations continue to recognize that instincts don't work in a COVID type environment when vehicle prices have been inflated, and now I'm trying to make real-time auction buying decisions based on a market that is fluctuating by tens of thousands of dollars monthly, if not daily, right? And I think tools like this, whether it's yours, Jameel, and I'm doing a little bit of a commercial for you myself at this point, or others, are going to be so critical for those companies who actually need to make the right decisions in a finite period of time.
And then also being able to synthesize that information into digestible chunks, because I mean, I've taken a look at things like, you know, OBD2 data, and if you don't know what you're looking at, right, if it's incomprehensible for most people to understand what it is that they're looking at. So you have to synthesize it then and make it into something that is digestible by the audience, whatever that audience is, whether they are a dealership or whether they're a consumer or whatever. You need to make that information understandable.
1000%. Yeah.
Well, Edie, let's see if we can get commercials out of Jameel and Eric. So, but I'll let you dive in a little bit more on VINData and just give us some examples of you know, a little bit more in depth of where you're seeing AI and
Sure.
and how it's benefiting customers.
Well, I mean, just like I had a client, like I mentioned earlier, I had a client reach out to me this week who's in the fleet space. He's actually in the rental vehicle space. And, you know, he needs to better understand when he should, you know, sell his vehicles, when he should sell this one versus not that one. You know, that's a huge decision for a company like that. So data like ours, like we have, you know, title information, you know, that we source through the National Motor Vehicle Title Information System. So we're, you know, a company that is sanctioned by the federal government. We also augment that with things like recall information. We did some work for a utility company a year or so ago, and they had 30% of the vehicles that they had on the road. And we looked at about 5,000 of their vehicles. 30% of them had at least one recall, and most of those are serious recalls where there's like extreme risk of fire or injury. I mean, that is such a huge liability for any company to be driving around with vehicles that have recalls, especially then if they know about them. Then they got to get them fixed. They really got to get them fixed. So there's my commercial. Everybody out there, check your recalls. Seriously.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an interesting point to our dealerships that might be on the call. Like that seems pretty valuable, like having insights into the businesses that have, you know, that percentage of vehicles that either, you know, somebody's going to make a decision of whether it's going to fix that recall or, you know, or is it past the end of life, you know, in a sense where it'd be better to trade that in
Right.
for something new.
Right. I mean, recalls are typically, I mean, sometimes, and we actually report on this. We report whether or not a recall has even had a remedy issued, right? So it's like, okay, we know there's a problem, but we don't know how to fix it. So, but we can tell when there's remedy available or when there are parts available for it. And then whether there's a stop sale or worse, a don't drive, right? So in other words, park it in the back because you shouldn't drive it until you fix it. So, we can report on all of those when it comes to recalls. And then we report on things like active theft, open lien, valuation information that we source from major guidebooks. We synthesize all that information into a very easy to understand through our API. So that the decisioning can be done by the company, or they can take our sort of red, yellow, green, designators, if you will, for that particular vehicle. It's all VIN based.
And I'm just curious, how many dealerships today are actually using this information to price a trade-in?
Whether it's our information or or other companies' information in the truck space, I suspect that number is still less than 30%. And
Wow.
You're talking about trucks in some cases, right? Or, large commercial type vehicles, whether it's class, 7, 8, whatever. These are sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of, and we have things like highway accident information also that can show whether or not the vehicle has been in an accident, and inspection information that we source from the federal government.
Amazing.
On the truck side.
And just you mentioned the one customer, but is that typical of just to give you a chance to speak to who your general overall customer base is? Is it?
Yeah. So we work with, I kind of think of it as a 5-way matrix, right? So there's the auction companies. So those are like the large, name brand auction companies, as well as smaller auctions. There's a lot of independent auctions out there. We also work with dealerships of all kinds. We work with insurance companies. We work with lenders, and we work with consumers. So you could just, stumble into, VINData.com and purchase a vehicle history report. That's sort of, and then we have all the different vehicle types. And so it's really a 5x5 matrix. And we work with, all of them.
Yeah, I'll try to comprehend the 5x5 matrix. Any other questions for Edie on VINData? All right. Eric, do you want to speak to BZDev or just talk about past experiences for yourself?
Yeah, I'll give an example from past experience because it was always one that was perplexing, right? So when it comes to cash or credit, my background over the last 7 years has been in fintech. Too many businesses make the wrong decision when it comes to when should I be paying cash for something versus when should I finance it, right? And I'll just give you a perfect example. Most of the time, they're just negotiating down to a single-digit number because for some reason in our minds, we feel like a single-digit number is comfortable, right? But in reality, if your company is doing at least a 10% profit margin, net profit margin, you are going to always be better off financing until that APR is above a 27% APR. You are going to make more money on that money over a 5-year period if you're leveraging the financing versus leveraging the cash. And a lot of companies don't understand this, right? And definitely most F&I departments don't know how to explain it. And once you have a tool like a GPT in your hands, or a tool that potentially Work Truck Solutions has that can actually outline for you what the true business trade-offs are of using cash versus using credit, all of a sudden that interest rate becomes a moot point, because it doesn't matter if they're charging you 13% when you thought you were better off getting a 9.98. Net, you're going to make $300,000 more by deploying your cash over the next 5 years than trying to use that cash for that purchase. And just little things like this are going to be at the fingertips of F&I people shortly, to where it's not just me explaining that that's the math to you. I can show you that that's the math. You can see it for yourself. You can take it to your accountant, and your accountant would say, yes, actually, they're right. You should finance this. And just little things like that are going to be so much easier to decide. Edie, you were making the point about maintenance. if my vehicle is off the road 10% of the year, I should be replacing that vehicle, right? If I'm doing, 15% profit margins, I should be able to calculate at what point in time is it no longer cost effective for me to have that vehicle in a service bay, right? And these are the things that as AI becomes more prevalent in dealerships and more accessible to the sales and servicing teams at these organizations, that they're going to be able to have those type of discussions with their customers. And those customers are going to go back to that dealership who knows how to have that discussion, right? That's true reciprocity at that point, because all of a sudden I'm providing tremendously more value in how you make business decisions than the other dealership across the street. And the first ones to get there are really going to be the dealerships that stand out.
Yeah, you make me think of earlier today, Jim Press was talking to a couple dealers and talking a little bit about how F&I has become more central as part of the, profit focus of a dealership, and commercial is more at the, still getting recognized as, can this be profitable for my dealership, or, how much of an influence is commercial having on the profit of my dealership, and so in that F&I space being around a little bit longer, and it sounds, I'm kind of playing off of your describing of where is AI changing like a part of the dealership's business that is already actually central, right? Like F&I is clearly central to the dealership. So it sounds like you're seeing that AI as a tool can then help your dealership make better decisions.
I think it helps people articulate better the value and the trade-offs, right? So a lot of people don't know how to sell a track lease, as an example, right? All of a sudden, if I have AI at my fingertips, I know what questions to ask you as a fleet operator and what outputs are going to be provided that actually make it easier for you to understand whether a track lease is right for you or not.
And interestingly, that's, some of that, the financing side, right, is super beneficial, obviously, to the dealership. I mean, that's where they make, a fair, significant amount of their money, as well as in things like warranties and explaining the benefits of that to, service contracts, et cetera, explaining the benefits of that to a fleet owner or whomever, I think that's a huge benefit.
And so the cool thing is, all of a sudden, we're all going to start making decisions based on data and not based on instinct, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or not based on gut, right? And I think we're going to make better decisions for that. And if truly dealerships can help walk us through that thought process of how ultimately to make the better decision, those are going to be the dealerships that win in the long run.
Mm-hmm. We got a question from the audience, and I'll mention, please, I do encourage anybody listening in to jump in with questions for any of our panelists here, or just us as a group. So, in Edie, you've talked earlier about how much you're seeing AI being talked about in different companies and news. And I think that kind of ties into this question a little bit of the question was, how long do you think AI tools will remain free? And so
they're not free.
Yeah.
They're free on your phone, right? If you have ChatGPT or whatever, it's generally free, but don't ask more than 5 questions a day or whatever their limit is, and because they will meter you. So it's not free at the corporate level, at the enterprise level, I should say.
Yeah. Are you both, Jameel and Eric, similar response?
I'll give my opinion on AI more in like a B2B setting. So I think if you're thinking about how you might want to implement AI in your business, or you're analyzing, partners or suppliers that are offering AI solutions, I'd say like just ask them basic, simple questions. And if you get confusing or overly complex answers, that should really raise some red flags for you. And I think that, another thing to consider when you're considering AI solutions, another key question I think that you can ask them is how are you benchmarking incremental success or improvements, right? I know Eric talked about, the predictive nature of some of the AI tools out there today. And really, in my mind, where this is going and where I think people can really see the value as more and more companies begin to explore and implement AI solutions. It's really important that we're able to measure right? Incremental gains with the technology. And there's a couple key areas within AI that I think are going to help us do that with things like probabilistic AI and things like that that'll stop or at least give you context, why these AIs are hallucinating or things like that with Gen AI. So I think it's just really important to be more prudent. And if the tool is free that you're being offered, I don't know if it was in a consumer setting or for your business. To Edie's point, I think that will, obviously change over time depending how you want to use it or how you want to implement it, or what access to a more complete feature set that you're interested in.
I would just want to add one quick thing, and that is that I think that what's going to happen is that products are, as they contain AI, right? Right now, there might not be any additional incremental pricing that with those products that have AI, as a genesis or somehow, right? They're still sort of that same price, but you may start to see an increase in those as they roll out and as the efficacy is proved. To Jameel's point, the measurement is super important, because then if you can say, yeah, we've got a 40% lift with X, Y, and Z, it makes a huge difference.
I definitely can relate to that, just in software development over my career. And a lot of times when you're at the earlier stage of looking at how your product can become better, and in this case, adapting AI into the product, you might be kind of experimenting to see like if that will make your product better. So it's kind of just built in, right? And your customers are getting kind of that benefit. And then over time, you might discover ways that really take your product up a level, or now from the business perspective, it's a cost, like to be able to power that type of a functionality. There's a cost to the AI. But I agree, like today, it feels like us and other companies are experimenting with that, without passing that cost on.
As you were reading the question, Kevin, I just thought back to my grandfather, who always said nothing in life is free, right? And there's always going to be a trade-off. So if you are getting access to AI today that is, for lack of a better term, free, that's great, because it's exposing all of us to how to potentially leverage AI for daily tasks or potentially work level applications. But at the end of the day, if you're not paying for it, you are giving your data away to training that AI bot, right? And I don't think your data is going to ultimately end up being visible on the internet to your competitors, but it's definitely going to be used for training purposes by those AI companies. And wouldn't you rather pay a little bit of money and build a proprietary GPT for your own organization that is fully trained on your own data sets and on your own knowledge base, so that you can avoid things like hallucinations and other things? Wouldn't you rather build your own prompt repository so that everybody's consistently using the same prompts when they're doing an inquiry, versus having slightly different prompts resulting in slightly different answers? So I think ultimately we're all going to want to pay something for it. It's just a matter of, what are you investing versus what's your return on investment. And I think that's ultimately what's going to determine how much each of us is willing to pay.
I think that's a great point, Eric. And, for the audience, I do like our audience to have some things that they can take away of, and maybe we'll stay on this topic for a little bit of just practical uses of AI or different things that you guys see benefit either yourselves or the company. But I want to highlight one thing you said there, and this ties in with the free AI tools, is your data getting shared out with how their AI is, training itself, and is it consuming your data in a way that could then be leveraged for other customers, or how they, sell their product? And so I think that's a good question when you're considering those AI tools, is what you're doing, really proprietary type of questions and data that you're inputting into the AI service that you're using, or is it more just I'm trying to write a letter and I just need some tweaking to the content to make it sound better, or things like that aren't necessarily proprietary. So it's a good question though to look at whatever, if you're personally using AI tools, to find out how their data sharing and privacy rules are, the terms of service that you're signing up for, and that is sometimes the difference between the free version and a paid version. Well, so on that topic, just we had talked about this a couple days ago, just standard business practices, or how is AI just benefiting, and one way I'll introduce the topic in question is like, are there specific AI tools or services that you've enjoyed using, or that you think like the audience could benefit or are worth trying out? So I'll jump in there if anybody wants to start here.
So I'll just say dabble with all of the free ones you can, right? Because you're going to see different values from each of them, and you're going to continue to learn and acclimate to what it means to leverage AI for personal tasks or for business tasks. So that's number one. But what we're playing with right now is conversational AI agents, to where we're actually training AIs right now to actually have a conversation with you and work on potentially selling you a product, or work on helping you with customer service. And the reason we're doing that isn't to replace other sales agents, but you don't have sales agents available 24/7, 365 days a week. And it's much easier to have a conversation with somebody than it is to type in a request and wait hours or days for a response. So there's different tools out there like that don't cost a ton of money, but are hugely beneficial if you're trying to offer a better service to your customers, or a more responsive service to your customers, or in some cases, a more accurate service to your customers, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And Jameel, Edie, we'll just stay on that before we go to another audience question, but any other?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, look, where's AI being used today? I think it's being used to just make the business processes that you do today more efficient and more targeted. So I don't think, at least within the current maturation of AI, that you're seeing like massive business model change or completely new business models coming online. Like for instance, I don't think a chatbot is going to take a customer end to end through the process of buying a work truck or anything like that. But I think it can certainly help target customers more effectively and bring them into your dealership with better buying signals. And then where's AI going? I think it's coming down from the cloud. So there's tons of data that's required to train these large language models. But I think from a business perspective, you're starting to see more like narrow language models within Gen AI, or even just narrower use cases where it can come down and be more local to a smartphone or to a device, and really alleviate a lot of the data requirements to effectively run some of these solutions. I think you'll start to see that in 2025 and beyond.
Edie, I mean, we can continue that, but I also think it would be good to start off this question from the audience around how does vehicle telematics data drive AI capabilities to sync together?
Well, I think that, again, the telematics data it's an extremely complex data set just in general, right? Because it's looking at so many different things that are happening within the vehicle at any given moment, right? And so you have both a time series as well as just a huge chunk of data that you're collecting. So I mean, AI being able to, again, sort of synthesize that information into information that can then be acted on either by other machines or by people. I mean, I think that's that's where it's going, and I hope that I'm answering the question.
Yeah, I'll add something there, Edie, as well. I think you mentioned it earlier. To me, it's basically helping to make better recommended actions, to your point, right? So when I think about a fleet owner of a work truck vehicle fleet, essentially the telematics data will let them know, like, okay, this vehicle has a grounding risk. You need to take it out of the fleet because of this. So it doesn't just give them a string of codes. It says, okay, this is a grounding risk. Or if you're looking at a transaction, okay, these mechanical fault codes are going to cost you X, so you should discount your price based on the recon work that's needed, right? So it's more translation of that, and then getting to recommended actions based on what you're looking to do with the telematics data, whether that's more efficiently run your fleet or whether it's to assess a vehicle for purchase.
Yeah, I think that's a valuable point. Is there's no point in the near future where it's going to be replacing people. It's really just providing you with more informed decisions. And I mostly see it as an assistant at this point, but a very knowledgeable assistant who can draw fairly accurate conclusions from the data that you have available to you.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with the question. And I don't know if the audience was going this direction, but the syncing together part made me feel like, is something going to happen while you're driving with that telematics data? And the way I think we're all describing it is it gives you more informed decisions to like process what you should do. Not that it's taking over what's happening, whether, it's an alert that, hey, you should bring this vehicle in because we've detected a potential problem to, at the end of a session, now you're looking at data across all your fleets and what was most productive in your fleet operations or things like that, is where it feels like the AI can make a big difference today. Not that it necessarily syncs and takes over.
Yeah, and you could also
hopefully
bring in data from other sources, like, from, NHTSA, for instance, right? They issue things like technical service bulletins that might be super important for you as a fleet operator to better understand, the service needs of your particular vehicle. But if you've ever tried to look through those technical service bulletins as a person, oh my God, they're almost incomprehensible. So.
Yeah, hopefully if we're using it right, it's making us more efficient and more effective, and hopefully buying us time back that we can use for things that we've just not had time for historically. And I think that's probably where it is, and hopefully where it stays for quite some time.
Yeah, I'll second that, Eric. I feel like that's a key takeaway for me is just being able to figure out, in the time of a day, like where can AI help, like things that used to take me a lot longer to do, or from a company operations perspective, things that we've done manual processes for to, again, commercial data and vehicle stuff is unique, and the industry is still early as far as the data and knowledge about these commercial vehicles. Where can we become more efficient with AI? And so I like that. And I'll kind of end. We're almost wrapping up, but any predictions on 2, 3, 5 years out? Like are we all kind of saying that the things that we've been talking about today will probably play out similar, just and grow, or do you see more rapid changes in the coming years?
Definitely more rapid change. Where it's headed, I think, is anyone's guess, to be quite honest. But my hope is that we all end up with better tools, more tools, and a better work-life balance.
I like that. Is that what you guys hope here is also the better work-life balance, Jameel, Edie?
Yeah, I think it's funny that, we used to leave work and we would just leave work, and now work follows us everywhere, right? Yeah. So if we can figure out ways that, that you can turn on your out of office assistant, but it could answer questions for you. Oh my God, that'd be game changing. But I see that, and I also just see that that we won't. It'll be interesting. Remember the days when people would ask you, and I'm really aging myself, but do you have an email address? Right now, it's what's your email address? It's going to be the same thing with AI, that you're not. It'll just be assumed to be there, right? There'll be a level of assumption about how you are operating your business, and it's where is AI helping you, not how is, or it's not is AI helping you.
Right.
Yeah. Any final thoughts there, Jameel?
Say that I think when you think about AI as a predictive tool, I believe that probabilistic AI and essentially giving a probabilistic score to the likelihood of the accuracy associated to the prediction
Bingo.
it's going to become increasingly important. And it's a field that's been around for a while, but I think it will become even more important, especially as adoption of these LLMs and other type of generative AI is getting more widespread. So that's prediction one. And two, I already said it earlier, but I think, you'll start to see, at least for some of these discrete use cases, AI coming down from the cloud and being more accessible on your device. I think that's how you bend the cost curve to have it make more sense for a wide variety of use cases.
All right. Well, the probability of our session being over is 100%. So our time's up, and thanks to the three of you for joining us today. It's been great. Time definitely flew by, and thanks audience for listening in, and I'll wrap it up here. Bye all.
Thanks all.
Thank
Great
you,
seeing you.
everybody.